In this video, I'll discuss B1 test UK Grade 5 versus the A2 test UK Grade 3. Whether you're navigating the path to citizenship or seeking residency in the UK, understanding the nuances between these two exams is essential. Let's dive in. First, let's discuss the difference between the B1 and the A2 test. The B1 test, also known as the GESE Grade 5 exam, assesses an individual's ability to communicate in English at an intermediate level. It evaluates speaking and listening skills covering topics such as routines, work, and leisure activities. On the other hand, the A2 test or the GESE Grade 3 exam focuses on basic English communication skills. It tests the individual's ability to handle simple conversations and understand everyday expressions and phrases. Both tests are crucial for individuals seeking settlement or citizenship in the UK. The B1 test, being a higher proficiency level, is often required for citizenship applications or indefinite leave to remain (ILR) in the UK. It demonstrates a deeper understanding of the English language and ensures that individuals can engage effectively in various social and professional settings. Moreover, the B1 test is typically required for employment in certain industries such as healthcare and education, where effective communication in English is essential. As for the A2 test, it serves as an important milestone for individuals on their journey to language proficiency. While it may not be a requirement for citizenship applications, it provides a solid foundation in English language skills and prepares individuals for more advanced language exams in the future. Now let's talk about the fees associated with these exams. The fee for the B1 test and the A2 test are actually the same. It is £150 for both the tests. But of course, the time and the effort required to prepare for these tests differs, as the B1 test is a little bit more advanced and requires a little bit extra preparation compared to the A2 test. Now let's discuss the duration for each test. The A2 test is a simple one-to-one conversation with the examiner which will last about 7 minutes. It will be taken at any approved CELT center, and the goal for the test is just to check your English language speaking. Whatever question the examiner asks you is for him to check your English speaking skills in that area. He does not want to know about your personal life. He is only there to check your English, such as your English grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. As for the duration of the B1 test, the B1 test lasts about 10 minutes and it's split into two parts. The first part is the topic, where you have to choose and prepare a topic in advance of the test for the discussion with the examiner. For that, you need a topic form which you'll have to download and print out and then fill it with your topic and subtopics. Here is an example of a completed topic form. The second part includes the conversation, where you will have a short conversation with the examiner about two subject areas that are chosen by the examiner. In the conversation, the examiner will ask you some simple questions about two subject areas that he chooses and also the topic and the subtopics that are chosen by you in your topic form. So make sure to practice common questions with your friends or family before going to the test. Now let's discuss the documents required to take a SELT test. For the A2 test, the only requirement is your proof of identity or ID, and you have to make sure that you take the same ID with you that you used for the test booking. As for the B1 test, you will not only need your ID, but you will also need your topic form that you prepared for the exam. Now let's discuss preparation for the test. For the A2 test, if you already have a basic level of understanding in English, then your preparation can be easily done by practicing some simple questions and conversations with your friends or family and maybe watching some YouTube tutorials on how to do that. But for the B1 test, unless your English is very good and your vocabulary is decent, you will have to practice quite a bit in order to pass. For the B1 test, you can either take the official government handbook for B1 exam, which will help you prepare for the test, or you can watch some simple YouTube tutorials where they will help you guide through the B1 test, and they will also give you some simple questions and conversations for you to practice. So in conclusion, whether you're aiming for citizenship, residency, or simply enhancing your English language skill, both the B1 and the A2 tests play a crucial role in your journey. While the B1 test demonstrates a higher proficiency level and is often required for specific purposes, the A2 test serves as a stepping stone towards language fluency and opens doors to further opportunities. Now we will discuss some small differences between the A2 and the B1 test. B1 test UK Grade 5 versus A2 test UK Grade 3. The B1 test assesses intermediate English communication skills, while the A2 test focuses on basic English communication skills. The B1 test evaluates speaking and listening abilities, while the A2 test tests ability to handle simple conversations and understand everyday expressions. The B1 test covers topics like daily routines, work, and leisure activities, while the A2 test prepares individuals for more advanced language exams in the future. The B1 test is typically required for citizenship applications or ILR. While the A2 test is not always required for citizenship applications, it is mainly required for visa extension. The B1 test is required for employment in certain industries, while the A2 test serves as a milestone for language proficiency. The B1 test has higher difficulty level due to higher proficiency, while the A2 test is less difficult compared to the B1 test. The B1 test demonstrates deeper understanding of English language, while the A2 test provides solid foundation in basic English language skills. So now, after all of that, we will discuss some common questions that are commonly asked in both the tests. Before we begin with the common questions, you have to keep in mind that there are some questions that will be asked no matter what English test you take. For example, questions like what is your name, or how are you, or how was the weather today. These kinds of questions are very common and very basic. So make sure you already prepare an answer for these types of questions. With that being said, now we'll discuss some common questions that can be asked in either of the tests. The first one is, what does your morning routine look like? And for all of these questions, the answer may differ depending on what test you're taking. For the A2 test, a very basic and simple answer is usually enough. But for the B1 test, you have to make sure that you show the examiner that you're confident in speaking English, and for that, you need to avoid very short answers and also very basic answers. You need to try and elaborate the answer as much as possible without making it extra long. For example, if the examiner asks you about your morning routine, if you're giving the A2 test, you can simply say, I wake up at 7 o'clock every day, I take my shower, my breakfast, and then I go to work, keeping it short and concise. But for the B1 test, you can go in a little bit detail. For example, you can say, I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, then I go for a morning walk, I come back at around 7:15, I have my shower, then I have my breakfast at around 7:30, I get prepared for work, and I go out to work at around 8 o'clock in the morning. What does your evening look like? Now, similarly to the morning routine, you can explain your evening routine in very basic English language. Next question is, tell us something about your family. Now, for these kinds of questions, you don't have to be accurate with your answers. Although it is better to be honest, if you find it difficult and you want to simplify the answers, you can come up with made-up answers. So, for example, if the examiner asks you about your family, and for example, your family has a total of 10 or 12 members, but to keep things simple, you want to mention only 4 or 5 of them, you can simply say, I have a small family of 5 members, me, my brother, my sister, and my parents. You have to keep in mind that for each of these questions, the examiner's goal is to check your English language skills. He is not interested in knowing about you or your family or your personal life. His only goal is to check your English vocabulary, English grammar, and pronunciation. So you have to make sure that all of these are correct, and the answer doesn't really matter. What are your hobbies and interests? Now for this one, once again, if you're giving the A2 test, you can keep it short and simple, and you can say, my hobbies include gardening and playing the guitar. But for the B1 test, you should try to elaborate a little bit more by explaining a little further. For example, you can say, I like playing the guitar or gardening, and I also like to learn and play piano. Next question is, what do you like doing in your free time? You can mention any leisure activities that you do in your free time. For example, you can say, I like to play board games with my family in my free time, or I like to play video games in my free time. Next question is, what did you do last weekend? Now, these questions are also very common where you have to talk about your past or your future, because the examiner wants to know if you can use the past tense and the future tense in English. So if he asks you about your past, you have to make sure that you answer in the past tense. And if he asks you about your future, you have to make sure that you answer in future tense. In this case, the question is in the past tense. So we'll have to answer it in the past tense. So you can say, last weekend, I went out with my friends or my family for a dinner at a restaurant. Next question is, do you like music? Now here, once again, for the A2 test, you can simply say, yes, I really like music. But for the B1 test, you should try to make it a little bit longer. You can say, for example, I like music and I like to listen to it while working out or while driving. Now the examiner might ask a follow-up question, for example, what kind of music do you enjoy the most? And for these kinds of questions, you can mention any type of music you want. For example, you can say, I really like pop music, or I really like jazz music, or I really like classical music, whatever type of music is your favorite. Now the last question in our list is, what's your favorite time of the year? Now here, you can mention your favorite time of the year, or you can mention your favorite season of the year. For example, you can say, I like summer the most as you get summer holidays and I get to spend time with my family. Or I like winter the most as I like to play in the snow, whatever your reason may be. So those are all the questions that can be asked in either of the tests. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. We hope this guide has shed light on the differences between the B1 test UK Grade 5 and the A2 test UK Grade 3. Remember, regardless of which test you take, dedication and perseverance are key to success. Best of luck on your language proficiency journey. If you have any confusion about anything that I mentioned in the video, make sure to leave your comment down below and I'll try my best to answer you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.